Hello everybody, Rob B here with Rob D. It's Friday the 15th and this is your market update. Now we kickstart these in style every week by getting into our feelings. And Rob, how are you feeling this week?
Today, I'm feeling great. On Monday, as you know, because you were speaking to me, I was not feeling great at all. After Boris's announcement on Sunday, I was feeling really pretty miserable on Monday morning. I spoke to a couple of other people in the team who remarked on how downbeat I was compared to usual. But over the week, some things changed in reality and things changed in my head as well. But on Monday when we spoke, you were already there. You were way ahead of me on seeing the positive side of things.
Well, I do like to put a positive spin on things, but I've gone downhill in the week when I've realised that barbers still aren't opening. I look like a bear at the moment, so my positivity's starting to zap away. I'm worried that if I go for a walk in the woods, people are going to think I'm a wild animal, so I've got to be careful. I've actually ordered some scissors off Amazon, some thinning out scissors. Yeah, I've got to be having any YouTube videos for a while. But like you say, once we kind of understood what was happening and all the information filtered through, because let's face it, there wasn't a lot to work with on Sunday with the announcement, I think there is a lot to be positive about. In essence, the property market is back. Back to what it was before? No. But back up and running? Yeah, absolutely, or at least starting to be up and running.
Yeah, Wednesday was the big day because that's when we got the specific announcement about the property industry. And I think there'd been the expectation that something would be said around specifics on Sunday, or at least I had the impression that something would be said around that. Then there was something else on Monday, which I thought would have more detail, and it didn't really. Oh, what's happened? Because there were all these rumours about all the arrangements that were being put in place to allow the housing market to reopen. Then suddenly, on Wednesday, it actually happened.
Yeah, so the construction industry was already up and running. Most developers that we know were already working. Maybe not at full capacity, but were certainly on site and moving on with things. But now, they're pretty much all back. Some of them are still working through the health and safety measures and not at 100% productivity right now, but they are further on than they were a week ago, and a week ago they were already doing quite well. So that's really important for the economy, not just the property industry, which obviously we have a great interest in, but for the wider economy, the construction industry is so important. So it's really positive for that to be happening. But just as important for property investors is that we can get mortgages again, and we haven't been able to do that because some lenders have stopped lending or reduced their products, and surveyors weren't going out. But it seems that's being solved now because surveyors, I'm pleased to say, are being un-furloughed. And Rob, that's a big boost.
It's huge. Some things have been put in place to allow some valuations to happen just based off desktop. Some lenders were going into higher loan to values without a physical inspection. But there are lots of transactions that had been stalled because surveyors couldn't go out. Now, it's important to be aware that they will of course have a backlog to work through, and they'll probably have to be more cautious in the way they work, so they'll be a bit slower anyway, and they've got a backlog to get through. So it doesn't mean that everything's going to instantly sort itself out, but it is very positive for getting the market moving again. Same when it comes to viewings. Helpfully for a property market, you can now view property. Estate agents and letting agents can allow viewings to happen. Now, there are safety measures that they need to put in place. That'll take a bit of time to do. There are certain arrangements around viewings that need to be made to make sure that social distancing is still in place. So again, it's not going to be instant, but obviously being able to actually physically look at a property to buy it or sell it or rent it is pretty fundamental. So being able to do it again, even if people are more cautious, even if they'd rather do a video viewing first and only go there in person if they're really keen, it's a really important step.
It is. I saw somebody put a joke on the internet which said, I can't visit my mum and dad, but I can hold property viewings. So they put the house on for sale and invited the mum and dad for a viewing. I don't know how true that is, but it made me chuckle. And as we touched on as well, lenders are starting to get back up and running as well. So call centres reopening in anticipation of lending to restart, which is so important. I think one of the most important things for us to drive us out of this crisis is credit to still be available. And it looks like it will be. Products are starting to come back onto the market for the residential side of property, for residential mortgages. And we expect buy-to-let to follow suit quite quickly. Now, some of you may be listening and going, oh, Rob, you are so positive. There's still doom and gloom and this isn't going to make a difference. But Rob, the data, the early data, I will say, seems to indicate that it's not just us being in good moods this morning while we record this. It's actually translating into action and movement.
It is. So this is based only on a single day of data. So it is very early. But there's a news story in Mortgage Strategy that says inquiries to estate agents are up 70% as the market reopens. So a 70% increase in people messaging estate agents on Rightmove. Traffic to Rightmove was up 45% based on the previous day. And 2,115 new properties were added to the site in the first 5 hours. So yes, this is only the immediate reaction, and yes, it's based on a single day of data. But what it implies is that people are still keen to transact. People want to buy, want to sell, want to move. We talk about sentiment and the importance of sentiment a lot on the podcast. And there'd be no point being able to physically do viewings and inspect properties if everyone was feeling so beaten down by events and so worried about the health aspect and so worried about their financial future and worried about the economy that they didn't actually want to go out and transact in property. But this data suggests that they do.
Yeah, you got to love a bit of positive data. And next week in the Property Podcast, we're going to be quite bold. So in the past, we've talked about scenarios or outcomes that could take place in the future. And that was put together quite early on into this crisis. We have more information now. And we're going to talk next week about the possible scenarios that we think will play out in the coming months and years. Now, we don't have a crystal ball, and we're not going to give you one scenario. We're going to give you at least two. But we feel more confident now after consuming endless amounts of articles and blogs and podcasts and YouTube videos and reading through books. And we have a view. And we might be wrong, but I think people will be interested in that view. So make sure you join us next Thursday for that podcast, because we're not going to just base it on how we're feeling about the market. We're actually going to break down each scenario so you understand why it could happen, not just what we think will happen.
Yeah, we won't say much more now for fear of spoilering next week's podcast. And also by that point, we'll have a bit more immediate data to work with. We'll see even more how some of these changes that have been made in the market this week are starting to take effect. And that will shape our view of what's going to happen in the short term, as well as starting to say some things a bit more solid with a few fewer caveats about the long term. And included in that, of course, we'll be referencing our good friend, the 18-year property cycle. Has coronavirus broken it? Does it not apply anymore? Or can we still look to the cycle to tell us what's coming next? That's what we're going to be talking about a lot more next Thursday.
So make sure you join us for that. And of course, we'll be back with Ask Rob and Rob on Tuesday. So until then, everyone, stay safe, take care, have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.